Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Um, Tonight we're going to discuss on the loss of learning. Okay, so there are um, 2, 4, 6, 7 loss of learning as seen in your screen. No, yan yung 7 na loss of learning. And these loss of learning are proposed by Edward Thorndike. These provide fundamental principles that guide the process of acquiring knowledge and skills. And these laws offer insights into how we learn effectively and efficiently. So let's explore each of these laws, no, in detail and along with illustrative examples. So let's start with the law of effect. Okay, that's law of effect. Okay, so law of effect. Learning is strengthened when accompanied by a pleasant or satisfying feeling, and learning is weakened when associated with an unpleasant feeling. And learning takes place properly when it results in satisfaction and the learner derives pleasure out of it. So, the principle of this law of effect is that a response that produces a satisfying outcome is more likely to be repeated, while a response that produces an unpleasant outcome is less likely to be repeated. For example, a student who receives praise for completing their homework on time is more likely to repeat this behavior in the future. No? Conversely, a student who is scolded for not completing their homework is less likely to repeat this behavior. So yan yung law of effect. Next, we have the law of exercise. Under this, accordingly, things most often repeated are best remembered. And students do not learn complex tasks in a single session, just like dancing. No? Kailangan paulit-ulit mo siyang ginagawa para ma-memorize mo yung mga steps. Okay? So, under this law of exercise, it means that the more often a response is practiced, the stronger it becomes. So, tulad ng example ko kanina, yung dancing. Similarly, a student who repeatedly reviews their notes for a test will be better prepared. No? Next, we have the law of readiness. So, under this, individuals learn best when they are physically, mentally, and emotionally ready to learn. And they do not learn well if they see no reason for learning. Okay, yan yung meaning to say, learning is most effective when the learner is ready, willing, and able to learn. So yan yung minimin ng law of readiness. For example, a student who is interested in a particular subject is more likely to learn effectively than a student who is forced to study a topic they dislike. Okay, next we have the law of primacy. So under this, things learned first create a strong impression. Kung ano yung first na natutunan mo, that creates a strong impression. And then, what is taught must be right the first time. Okay? Kasi ang hirap i-unlearn ng isang learning na mali. No? So, yan yung law of primacy. So, under this, ang other explanation on this law is that the first learning experience is often the most memorable. So, example, a child's first day of school can have a lasting impact on their attitude toward education. Similarly, a person's first impression of a new acquaintance can be difficult to change. No? Kung yun yung first impression mo sa isang taong yun, mahirap na yun siyang mabago. No? Yan yung sa law of primacy. Then we have the law of recency. Things most recently learned are best remembered. Or the other way of explaining it, the most recent learning experience is often the most easily recalled. So for example, a student who has just studied a particular topic is more likely to be able to answer a question about it than a student who studied the topic several days ago. Yan yung law of recency. The next law of intensity. The more intense the material taught, the more it is likely learned. Meaning to say, the more intense or vivid a learning experience is the more likely it is to be remembered. For example, a student who witnesses a car accident is more likely to remember the details of the event than a student who only hears about it. Yan yung minimin ng law of intensity. Then, the last one is the law of freedom. So, things freely learned are best learned. No? Things freely learned are best learned. And the greater the freedom enjoyed by the student in the class, the greater is the intellectual and moral advancement enjoyed by them. Meaning to say, learning is more effective when the learner has a sense of freedom and autonomy, but not all the time. Okay? Not all the time. Hindi pwedeng all the time sila yung masusunod. Got it? Okay. For example, a student who is allowed to choose their own projects or topics is more likely to be motivated to learn. No? May instances lang na kailangan sila yung pumili. Okay? So, yan yung sa law of freedom. Okay, so in conclusion, the laws of learning provide a valuable framework for understanding the process of learning. No? Kaya siya in continuation ng principles of learning. No? So, by applying these principles, these laws, educators and learners can create more effective and engaging learning experiences. While these laws may not be universally applicable in all situations, take note of that, they offer a solid foundation for understanding the psychology of learning. So I think that's all for our discussion on the laws of learning.